Hi everybody, since I'm going to film this series on how to scratch build a warehouse, I just want to show you some of the tools that I use. It's by no means an exhaustive list. You may have some other things you like better. Please put them in the comments, share with everybody. This is sort of meant to let you know what you need to use to try to scratch build a building of any type. And I encourage everyone to scratch build. Do something different on your layout. Don't just have everyone have the same kits on their layout. If you have the ability to do it, do it. I understand some people have physical limitations that they can't do it. That's fine. But I encourage everyone to try scratch building something. So I've had this Northwest Shortline chopper for years, probably since the 80s. It's just worn out. I've cut a groove in it. You see where I've put epoxy in there and I've tried to fill the groove up. So it's time to replace it. Also, these old files, same thing. I've had them for years. Tips are busted on them. They're clogged up. So splurged and got a new chopper. It's not by Northwest Shortline. This is from Micromark. And I got some new files. These aren't the most expensive files I could get, but basically I'm either going to be sanding, thin styrene or wood with them. Very rarely do I file any metal with these, so they'll work for my purposes. But you need to have some way to duplicate parts. Like the chopper, you can set these things and you can cut the same length. Really comes in handy and way to clean up the parts that you just made. So a couple more useful tools is this magnetic base here. Has right angles. And it's got a cutout here, so if you have something real long, it can extend through. And these little magnets like this that help you hold squares together, especially if it's a tall thing like this. I just staged that there to show you how it works. But these are really handy for gluing walls together and things like that. So we just sort of pan around the workbench. So I have assortment of rulers, straight edges, screwdrivers, things like that. These are very handy because they actually lock. They're actually spring loaded. So it's unlike tweezers, we have to hold them shut. These you have to hold them open. So those are handy to have. I've got assortment of tools back here, rail nippers, little pliers, wire cutters, things. This is where I keep my knives and the DT&I cup. I also have my Rick's Picks in there, which doesn't help with scratch building. This square is really handy, along with the little straight edge, which I don't know where I would do with it. Oh, here it is. So this straight edge is really handy. And of course, that tall thing there is my scale ruler, N scale ruler, and it's also HO and S scale. I've got pencils, a little light. This is actually light. I talked about it. Mike Pfeiffer sent it in an order one time, because I buy a lot of stuff from him. But that comes in handy especially if I'm searching on the floor to find something I dropped in N scale. It comes in handy. I have a bunch of screwdrivers. You might wonder what the blue tape is. The blue tape tells me it's a Phillips head. It seems like it'd be a 50-50 shot whether I pulled a screwdriver out that I needed, but it seemed like I always pulled out the wrong screwdriver. So I just marked the Phillips head with a blue tape. Just assortment of dowels, scissors. Have a lot of pairs of tweezers that come in handy for scratch building things, and my paintbrushes. I like the Plastruct cement. I like the red label better, but the hobby shop was sold out of the red label the last time I was there, so I got this stuff. This is the Tamiya, and it's good too. I like it. It's been a little bit more expensive, but I like the Plastruct red label cement. Is probably the best for scratch building. And of course, I have all my paints and everything in here. Anything else? Just a little, I keep a little scrap bin here of little bits and pieces I can use for bracing. I have some of these little sanding sticks and a file, and these were the files I just showed you. They're going to go in there. Let me talk a little bit about X-Acto knives for a minute. I'm very bad about using knives too long. Keep a good supply of blades, change them often. One way to make the blades last longer is to have a cutting mat underneath there. So that way, you know, the blades last longer. And of course you want sandpaper as well as, you know, I've got rough and regular sandpaper. Toothpicks come in handy. Writing glue, super glue, if I need super glue, which I hardly ever use super glue. I usually use the other stuff, but you know, I like this evergreen canopy glue for windows because it dries clear. So hopefully that'll tell you sort of the tools that I use. Do you need all this stuff? No, you don't need all of it, probably. But we'll show you one other thing. This is something I just picked up. I don't do unboxing videos very often because, you know, what's the point of it? But this is something I needed, some of the cutoff wheels for my Dremel. And heck, by the time I bought the cutoff wheels, the other stuff was hardly any more money. So I just went ahead and got it, you know, because it's something that comes in a nice little case. And so I thought I'd go ahead and pick that up. So these are the tools. This is my workbench. Needless to say, you need a good light that's adjustable. And for end scale, this is big enough. If you're going to build something in HO, probably need a lot bigger workbench. But end scale, this generally will suit me just fine for what I need to do. If I'm working on a G scale stuff, I do that in the garage on the big workbench. Hopefully this helped you. Again, you don't need all this stuff, but you need some straight edges, some squares, square up the walls, some files and sharp knives, and should do fine for your first project. Everybody stay safe.